Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our 2025 Spring Career Night. Just want to make sure you guys can hear and see me. All right.
We can hear and see you.
Thank you, Daniel. Thanks for joining tonight. Excellent. All right, everybody. So again, as you know, here at the Graduate School of Technology's Office of Career Services, we host a semesterly career night. And tonight, I'm very excited to introduce you to a good friend and connection of mine, Chris Fitzpatrick. Chris is a professional speaker and MC, an aspiring game show host, and a below average charity golfer, but I'm sure he's better than me when it comes to that. Chris has spent the past 18 years working in human resources, leading campus relations, talent acquisition, and talent development functions. Tonight, Chris brings his unique perspective and high energy and humor to Touro University's Graduate School of Technology. So without further ado, I will be introducing Chris. Just a couple reminders, please keep yourselves on mute until you have a question and we're ready for questions. And for those of you who are joining, don't forget to enter your full name, Touro email address, and GST major and program in the chat just to help us out with the attendance recording tonight. Again, there will be a Q&A at the end of the session. And before we have Chris start off today, again, just another reminder and intro here. My name is Leanne McKeown. I'm the Director of Corporate Outreach and Career Development at GST. If anybody wants to speak after today's presentation, feel free to email me and book in-person or Zoom meetings. Last but not least, this is my last shameless plug for our vendor Braintrust Air. We're completing a pilot with them this spring, and I know we've sent a couple of emails out about our AI-powered interview practice tool, but a copy of the different interview links will be sent to all of you tomorrow or to anybody who RSVP'd for tonight's career night. This is a great way to sharpen your interview skills and stay ahead in preparing for your career. So again, without further ado, Chris Fitzpatrick. Thank you so much, Chris.
Thanks, Leanne. I appreciate it. I think my favorite part of the whole introduction was being introduced as an old friend. There's a warmth to that I really enjoy, and it's true. Leanne and I go back quite a ways to prior organizations, and we put together some good programs together. So I really appreciate it, and thanks for bringing me here to speak to the students of Touro. I've been looking forward to this for several months now. Leanne and I put this together back in the fall. And it's a topic that I'm very passionate about, and I think everybody's really going to enjoy. So, as we're continuing to have more folks come in, so I want to echo what Leanne mentioned about using that chat box and just sharing your information for attendance purposes for sure, but also I want to make sure everyone is using the chat box because we're going to use it a lot over the course of the next 60 to 90 minutes, and I'm going to be looking for a lot of audience participation. So as you have a chance to do that, we'll keep an eye there. I'm not going to spend too much time on a self-introduction. I think Leanne nailed it. But what I will tell everybody is that at the end of the presentation, I'm also going to share my own feedback link. There'll be a QR code if you want to use your phone, and I'll also put a link in the chat. And I appreciate your feedback on the topic, the talk, the information. Anybody who provides that feedback, first of all, you'll automatically have access to a very cool PDF that you'll see in this evening's presentation that you can use in your own preparation. And we'll talk about that exercise a little bit later. It's a central part of the presentation today. And then also, if anybody is looking for any information or handouts from the slides, the feedback form, that's how I would have the information to be able to provide that to you. So I will ask for that feedback when we get to the end. I see we have about we have 47 folks in here. That's awesome. Appreciate that. And I'm also going to put some links in the chat. So anybody who would like to connect with me in any of those ways, you can save those links till later, or feel free. But you see Linktree, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram in there. The YouTube channel, I post a lot of videos on topics similar to this one. A lot of it is geared towards developing college students and helping them with the skills that they need in the job search or in student leadership or a whole variety of other areas. So as we get started, what I'm going to do is let me get set up my screen share here and begin presenting. So bear with me for just a moment. There we go. Full screen and come over here and share it. All right, there we go. Is everybody able to see the presentation and still hear and see the floating heads in the boxes? Let me know either with a reaction or by a thumbs up in the chat or anything like that. I see chat is already still going wild. That's excellent. All right. Thank you, Camila. I appreciate the yes in the chat box. I see a bunch of thumbs up coming through, so I think we're in pretty good shape. Outstanding. All right, so as I mentioned before, I'm not going to waste too much time on introductions. Leanne mentioned I'm an aspiring game show host. You'll see quite a bit of that today, and we're going to start with one of those games. I want to kick right off with a game that I like to call What We Won't Do Today. A lot of speakers, when they begin a presentation like this, they start by telling you all of the wonderful things that you're going to do during the presentation. I do the opposite. I want to start with what we're not going to do. And this game is relatively simple. The topic is obnoxious business platitudes. And I'm going to put up 12 word puzzles. And what I'm going to challenge everybody here to do is to figure out which cliche, which business saying is being depicted in the picture and type it in the chat. And I want to see who gets it first, who gets it right, how many different guesses we have. It's a take on an old game show called Concentration. If anybody remembers ever watching Concentration on the Game Show Network, Alex Trebek hosted Concentration before he was hosting Jeopardy! So it's going back quite a ways. And these simple picture puzzles will just be a way to break the ice and have a little bit of fun. So I hope everybody is ready. Give me a thumbs up or give me a smiley face or something from the React menu if you are ready for our first game today. All right, thank you. I got a thumbs up in the chat. Very cool. Phil just hopped on and gave me a thumbs up on video. Love that. All right, here we go. Get those chat boxes open, and we will begin with our first picture puzzle. So as soon as you think you know it, pop it in the chat. Let's see who gets it first. Remember, we're looking for business cliches. Good guess, Samuel. It does look like, you know what, that's a really good guess. Doritos. I see what you're going for there. It's not what I'm looking for. We're looking for business sayings. We're looking for kind of the the business platitudes that you would hear in the workplace that people will say. Anyone else want to start? No. Try to see which one everyone's seeing. Okay, there we go. I see somebody is saying open door policy is close. So this first one with the door and the Fruit Loops, it's close the loop. Close the loop is what we're looking for on this first one. All right, so let's go to our second one. Does everybody see the photo of the airplane? I want to make sure everyone's on the correct slide. Yep, okay, thank you, Juan. So what do we have here? What business platitude do we have here? Let's see if anybody gets it right in the chat. I'm keeping an eye on that chat box to see if anybody gets this one right. Landing after Arifin, you're close, right? But what's the saying? What's the business saying? Right? Like we said before, close the loop. Land is part of it. What are we landing? See who gets this one in the chat. Throw the guesses in there. When you're finishing a project, it's said that you're doing this. Get a couple more seconds, see if anybody else wants to take a guess. Yep, Tushar got it. Tushar got it. Very good, Tushar. It's land the plane. Land the plane. It's one of the more obnoxious business platitudes and sayings that you'll hear out there. So, all right, good. Good, good, good. That's two. Let's move on to this one. Is my slide advancing or no?
Hey, Chris, Leanne, we're still stuck on the plane
Still
slide.
stuck on the plane, huh? Well, that's pretty accurate, isn't it? All right. Bear with me just a moment, everybody. There we go. Now we advanced. Here's our next picture puzzle. There we go. Juan got that one right off the bat. Circle back. I saw a few folks guessing that one earlier. That's right. Circle back is the correct one there. How about this one? And I want to just give you a hint. The second picture, that is not a cello. My wife plays the cello, and there we go. David, right off the bat, got it pretty quick. Touch base is correct. Touch base. Nice job, David. I see somebody's giving David some applause. Very good. All right. This one's a little tricky. We have 3 pictures here. Now we got a little momentum going. See, Juan's got one right so far. David's got one right so far. Tushar got land the plane. You're close. Wrap it up is close. Also close. Jaleesa also close with wrap your head in the game. You got the first 2. You got the first 2. So we're wrapping our heads, and then what is the plane doing? What is the motion? Think about the cliche and the saying. There you go. Jaleesa got it. Wrap your head around it is correct. Nice job, Jaleesa. Very good. Here's a business saying that I hear about 4 times a day. It's been old for a long time. That's right. Ozair got it. Pick your brain. Pick your brain. Smriti got it too. Excellent. All right. Good. This is a tricky one. It's a fun one, but it's a tricky one. Once you get this first picture, the rest of it becomes much easier. Jacqueline, you're really close. You're just missing the first word. You're correct on elephant in the room. But what are we doing with the elephant in the room? Okay, Ozair got the first one. There we go. So we put it all together. We're addressing the elephant in the room. Jaleesa, good. Got the full thing in there. So good job, Jacqueline. You got the second 2/3. Ozair helped out the beginning. Address the elephant in the room. Very good. This is one of my favorites. I'm sure you've heard this one before. Give everyone a few seconds on this one. There you go. Smriti got this one. Good job peeling the onion back. Peeling back the onion, looking for more detail. It's always a fun cliche. Very good. Few more to go. We have 4 more left. This one's a little bit tricky. If you get the second picture, it'll help you get the first. Let's see who can get this one right. Ooh, Ozair with a good guess. Give me a sign. You've got the right idea because the first picture is give. You're absolutely right. Get a little bit more specific with the second one. Somebody's asking you for permission. Ah, Chaya, you're so close. You're right there. There we go. Got it. Abigail got it. Give the green light. Oh, there was a second, a split second between the first 2 people who got it. That's right. Giving the green light. Very good. Let's see if you all know this one. You're going to be taking a request and submitting it for approval. Where are you sending it? What are you doing with it? It's a good guess. Really close. Run up the state. You got run, you got up. Just need this third one. Jean is so close. Run up the pole. Haley, a little bit more. Yep. One. Yep. Exactly. One flagpole. This is run it up the flagpole. So if you're getting permission for something and you need permission from the hires up, that's the cliche is you're going to run it up the flagpole. Very good. You know, it's good that y'all aren't bogged down in these just yet. Believe me, that day will probably come, but let's see if you know this one. This one's a little easier. There you go. That one came out pretty quick. Think outside the box. Very good. And our last one. Last cliche, good. Ozair got it. Getting our ducks in a row. Get your ducks in a row. Get organized. Get prepared. Get your ducks in a row. Good job, everybody. All right, outstanding. So that's our first game, and that's just our icebreaker. Just a little something to have a little bit of fun and get everyone engaged in the chat. But those are 12 business cliches or business platitudes. I am not a big fan of platitudes or empty phrasing. These are the pictures that you'll see in break rooms and across offices. And that is not what we're going to do today. We're not going to focus on sayings and platitudes. Instead, we are going to get down and specific with, I think, some very valuable information about personal branding, about networking skills, and about professionalism. And that's what I'm hoping that we're going to be able to accomplish today. But I also want us to all have a really good time in the process. I want everyone to have fun doing it. And we'll have a couple more games as we go through the rest of the evening. We good so far? Give me a thumbs up. Give me something in the React. Put a thumbs up in the chat. Let me know everyone who's still with me and that we're good so far. Good. Smriti gave me a bunch of thumbs up. Janelle gave me a thumbs up in the chat. Good. All right. Everyone's with us. So now I want to start off talking about personal branding with how we're going to frame this topic. Now, I don't know if anybody's told you this yet, and if not, then congratulations are in order. But every single one of you, each and every one of you, and we have about 60 people on the call right now, every single one of you is a corporate CEO. You are the chief executive officer of You Incorporated. It is your own organization. It is your own company. You run it. You are in charge of it. Not only are you the CEO, but you are the vice president of marketing. You are the chief financial officer. You run every department, every division, from the sales team to the mailroom to the facilities team and everything in between. It is an awesome responsibility to be the CEO of your own organization and of your own company. Now, here's the other secret. You've been the CEO of this company for most of your life, probably since roughly around maybe middle school, high school, when this stuff really started to matter. And some of the things that you were doing started to follow you from one step to the next in earnest. You've been the CEO of your own company. But now, as part of a university, and whether you're in an internship, in a job, or you're getting ready to prepare for the job search, this personal brand becomes more important than it's ever been before. So part of the challenge this evening is for each of you to think about yourself, not just as a job seeker, not just as a student, but as the CEO of your own personal brand. This is a 24/7, 365 job. It does not take holidays. It does not take vacations. The decisions you make as the CEO of You Incorporated will build and will follow you to differing degrees depending on what the situation is, how it happens. The other kind of interesting piece of this is 20 years ago when I was out of college and I was the CEO of my personal brand and I was beginning my career, social media was a lot less pervasive than it is today. It wasn't all over the place. There wasn't a new video every millisecond. So it was a little bit easier for some things to happen and to not be as attached to the personal brand. Those days have really come and gone, where there's so much more opportunity to add more to your brand, both good and bad. And it's important to keep that in mind as well. And we'll talk about that a little bit too. Now, with any CEO, with anybody in a position of power in an organization, in a company, one of the most important decisions that they will make is who to have on their board of directors, who to have working with them directly. And the truth is that there are a lot of different types of people you can have as a board on your board of directors. And here are 8 of them right here. This is what I refer to as a PBOD, personal board of directors. And what you all have to decide is, are these the board positions you want to have on your board of directors? And if so, who do you see in any of these positions? Now, you can have 3 mentors and no cheerleaders. You could have 2 coaches and no motivators, or you could fill your room with any combination or create positions that don't exist in this 8. But these are examples of some of the individuals that you might have in your board of directors. So your mentors are your executive advisors. Mentors are the individuals who are there to work with you, guide you, give you advice, help you come to successful conclusions, and really continue to help you move some of your career choices, your decisions, and your work forward. Mentoring is a very powerful role that anybody can take. Some of you might be both mentors and mentees right now. As a matter of fact, that's very common. A lot of individuals, especially considering that most of you, I believe, are graduate students, you might have an opportunity to mentor an undergraduate student, for example, coming in, or somebody just getting to the school. You might mentor somebody in your community. You might work in an organization where you have some expertise and you're mentoring a newer employee. You might also be receiving mentorship from an alumnus. You might be finding yourself getting mentored by another student in the school, or in a company, in a workplace, you might find yourself receiving mentorship from somebody else in the organization. So I want to pause on the mentor conversation for just a moment. And in the chat box, I want to invite anybody to share if they have a mentor or if they mentor somebody else. And you don't have to give their name or anything like that unless they're on the call, in which case feel free to shout them out. But I want you to share if you have a mentor or if you have a mentee and what role that person plays on your personal board of directors. Have they impacted you? If so, how? If you have any examples of that, put it into the chat. Or if anybody wants to raise their hand and share, I'd be happy to have you unmute and do that. But I want to see if we have an example or two of individuals who either are mentoring other people or have received mentorship. I'll give you all a moment in case anybody wants to share. I just got a note. I got a direct message from somebody. They say, I'm a mentor for my younger brothers. I love that example. You can absolutely take a mentoring role within your own family or within your own group of friends. I think that's a terrific example. So thank you to that individual who provided that example. Samuel, I see that you have your hand up. What I want to invite you to do is to unmute and share your mentorship example.
Um, I follow people that in social media that work as my mentors, let's say, and also some authors from books from that I consider them also my mentors. Uh, Example on social media is a well-known military that is David Goggins
Oh, sure.
regarding the mental strength, motivation, and everything about that. And from the other side, because I don't have just one mentor, I used to I like Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, and I consider a good mentor for me because in this time, mental toughness is most necessary than ever.
That's a terrific example. Samuel, thank you so much. And thank you for also being the first of our participants to unmute and share that story. I really appreciate that. I love the direction that you took that, talking about the mentorship that you receive, not just necessarily from a personal connection or somebody that you speak with, but how you've taken lessons of mentorship from some of the books that you've read. And I also like the fact that you focused it in a particular area. Right. And you've hit on 2 points about mentorship that I do want to spend some time on. Is first of all, one of the myths about mentorship is that we're supposed to have a mentor. The truth is, as Samuel very accurately pointed out, you can have multiple mentors at one time, and you'll probably have multiple mentors throughout your career, throughout your life. That's another thing about the personal board of directors that we'll talk about, is the fact that the personal board of directors is going to go through changes. You're going to add to that board, you'll take people off of that board, you'll expand the board, you'll contract the board. So that will constantly be going through changes based on the phases of your life and some of the experiences that you have, which I think is really terrific. So that was one of the myths of mentorship, is this idea that you have to have only one mentor, and that's not the case. And the other thing is that a mentor can be for a very specific area, for a very specific skill. So Samuel in this case mentioned mental toughness, and we're going to come back to this topic in a little bit with that kind of central discussion that I mentioned earlier. But if there's an area that you seek to improve, a mentor is a fantastic way to accomplish that. You might identify somebody to mentor you for a shorter period of time. A mentor doesn't have to be a long-term relationship, and they might be mentoring you on one particular topic, such as mental toughness. So I thought that was a fantastic share, and thank you so much. Also in the chat, Smriti mentions, I received mentorship from the CEO from a past job experience, working directly with them in a startup incubator. What a tremendous experience that is, to have that line, that connection with a leader in that incubator environment, and to be mentored by somebody in a position like that. That sounds like a tremendous experience. You see here on the personal board of directors, in addition to the mentors, you see coaches, individuals who are there to help develop a particular skill or an area of talent that you have. Your ambassadors, your network builders, or your connectors. I love the ambassadors. There are a lot of ambassadors that I have in my network who are the ones who, when you're in a busy room with them, they're the ones who will pull you around and say, you've got to meet this person. I have to introduce you to this person. Or on LinkedIn or another social media application, they're the ones who will say, hey, I want to make sure I connect you with this individual because I think they'll be able to provide value. The cheerleader, these are your public advocates. These are the ones who are always saying supportive things, not just to you individually, but they're the ones who will make their support of you and their admiration of you very public, and they build you up. They're sort of your hype person. They're the ones who's responsible for kind of hyping you up and being very excited about just the fact that you're in the world and that you're providing value. Very similar to the motivator, the individual who provides that level of emotional support and keeps you focused and keeps you going, especially in times of challenge. Quality control is a funny one. This is your accountability partner. And in a little bit of a contrast from your cheerleader or even your motivator, the quality control person is the one who will say, hold on, slow down. You need to work on this. I noticed this, and I think you should address this. The quality control, very similar to the mentor in that they can have those difficult conversations, and they are there to hold you accountable when you might get away from your goal, your task, or just get a little out of yourself. I have several quality control people on my personal board of directors, and when they're the ones reaching out, I'm always wondering what's going on, but their advice is usually really sound and very helpful. An industry insider, so that's a career subject matter expert. If there's an industry, for example, that you're very interested in, or a company or an organization, and you happen to make a really good connection with an individual from that industry or from that organization, they may be providing you information or guidance on that one particular sliver of the world. And that's an industry insider. That's somebody who will pass you the information that you need in order to try and move forward within that particular industry or that career. And then the financial consultant. Now, it's important to note, this doesn't have to be somebody who is a financial professional, but anybody who's there to help advise you about how you use your resources. And it doesn't just have to be money. This could be time, this could be treasure, this could be talent, this could be a whole variety of different things. But having somebody who's there to help you with your literacy when it comes to some of those decisions that you're making is a very important part of your board of directors. And one of the things I would challenge you to do is to think about if there are any roles on your personal board of directors that you don't see here, or somebody that when you think of yourself as a corporate CEO of You Incorporated, somebody that you know is on your board of directors who you look to for advice or who you think is very valuable. And if there's somebody that is on your personal board of directors in any of these roles, or even a role that's not here, please share that experience in the chat box with us and let us know if there's somebody in a role on your personal board of directors who's had a profound impact on you. I invite you just to send over any of those examples in the chat box as well. I'll give you a moment to anybody who wants to share any of that. Yeah, no pressure. You don't have to. But I always love hearing from everybody about what their individual experiences are with these. While folks are considering that, I'm going to go to the next slide, and I just want to put a saying up and give everybody a moment with it. And this is a very famous quote. You may have heard it in the past. It's credited to a gentleman named Jim Rohn. And the saying is that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. How many of you have ever heard of this saying? First of all, if you've ever heard the saying, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, raise your hand. You can use the raise hand function in the reactions. And I want to see how many folks I see. All right, right off the bat, I got a bunch of people who said, yes, I know this. David, Samuel, yep. Tushar, Abigail, good. Queemy, yep, you've heard of it. Jaleesa got the thumbs up there. Sana, okay. And I hope I'm doing my best to pronounce the names correctly. But a lot of folks are familiar, outstanding, very good. Yeah, and so Janelle put something really interesting there in the chat saying the law of success, and I think that that's pretty accurate. What I will say, and anyone whose hands are still up, feel free to pop them back down so that way I know that nobody's waiting for a chance to jump in. But when you say the law of success, I think that that's important to also dissect. The idea of you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, that's not necessarily it's definitely not a factual mathematical equation. It's not proven that the 5 people that you spend the most time with in terms of actual time spent are the most important to you, or that you can't have more than 5 people you spend a lot of time with who influences you. But the idea behind it is that you do become a product of your environment, your surroundings. And the most important part of your surroundings oftentimes are the people who you surround yourself with. This is why that personal board of directors is so important. And this is why you have to be very intentional, and you have to consider who's on that board, for how long, in what role, and when it's time to make some changes, right? So let's pull some key ideas from this quote, and feel free to take from this whatever you like, or if you're taking notes, these are some notes that I think you really want to focus in on when it comes to the idea of what Janelle refers to as the law of success, Jim Rohn's quote about being the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Number one, surround yourself with the right people. If you surround yourself with motivated, successful people, there's a greater chance that you will remain motivated and that you will also be successful. If you surround yourself with kind, empathetic people, there's a greater chance that you will go into your day-to-day with kindness and empathy. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. I want to stress, it's not just about professional success. It's also about, from a personal branding standpoint, who you want to be in the world and what you want to project and how you want people to see you. What are the first things you want somebody to think about when they hear your name? And it doesn't have to be successful or hardworking. A lot of times it is kind, empathetic, funny. These are perfectly legitimate ways to be described. So surround yourself with the right people. Number 2, audit your inner circle regularly. Promote, demote, hire, and fire as needed. Now, just on that point, you're not necessarily going to go to somebody in your inner circle or on that personal board of directors and say, hey, you've been very helpful over the last 3 years, but I'm firing you from my personal board of directors. That would be very awkward. But you might not go to somebody for advice as often if their spot on that board of directors is no longer really relevant to you. Perhaps your circumstances have changed. Maybe their circumstances have changed. Or maybe you've just realized that it's time to bring somebody else onto the board of directors in that role. That's okay. You don't necessarily need to have a conversation about that, but it is important to audit who's in that inner circle and to make the adjustments as necessary. Number 3, don't spend too much time thinking about who you can add to your inner circle to lift you up, but instead be the kind of person that others want in their circle because you lift them up. The idea behind this is that having a personal board of directors and having an inner circle, yes, it's about how you're going to improve and build and maintain your personal brand. But you also want to think about whose board of directors you are on and how you're not just receiving, but also how you're giving. And if you focus on being the type of person that others want on their personal board of directors, you'll wake up one day with your board seats filled and everybody excited and motivated to continue to be a part of it. And then number 4, you heard me mention this earlier, your inner circle may change as your life circumstances change, and you may also find yourself with multiple circles. You might find yourself with a personal inner circle or a personal board of directors. You might find one for professional activities. You might have a circle of spiritual advisors, a spiritual board of directors. And these circles could come together like a Venn diagram and overlap in some places, or they might remain entirely separate. This is not necessarily a rigid or a linear scientific activity. As a matter of fact, it's supposed to be very flexible, almost liquid, as you continue to adjust and make changes based off your circumstances to keep yourself in the best position possible. Number 5, this is my personal favorite. Your time is your most valuable asset, period. You can find out how much money you have left, but you cannot find out how much time you have left. You can always go out and make more money. You cannot go out and make more time. So be intentional about the time you're spending building this personal brand and who you're allocating that time to, because you don't get that time back later. I want to pause for a moment and see if anybody has any questions. If so, put them into the chat. I just want to give everyone a moment to digest that information and see if anybody has anything to add or to share. Other than that, you can give me a thumbs up as a reaction, or you can put a thumbs up in the chat, and we'll keep on moving. Gosh, we're already 40 minutes in. All right, Jaleesa, thank you. I appreciate the thumbs up in the chat. So in addition to trying to decide who's going to be on your board of directors, part of being a company CEO is trying to figure out who's going to invest in your brand. And I know I'm being very heavy-handed with the corporate board and the investment analogy, but I feel like it drives the point home. Individuals can invest in your personal brand in a variety of different ways. And you might have heard of this before. You might have heard of a concept called the 3 T's: time, talent, and treasure. When we think of investing from a corporate standpoint, we're thinking about somebody using money to purchase stock and invest in an organization or in real estate or what have you. And yeah, there might be instances where somebody is financially investing in you. But some of the most important investments other people make in us is when they invest their time in us. Mentors invest their time in us, and that is their most valuable and finite asset as well. So what a compliment it is when a mentor sees us and says, I want to invest my time in you. Not because I'm definitely going to get something in return, but because the value proposition for me is watching you succeed. There is a beautiful selflessness to that. And it's very, very powerful. So somebody can invest in you in terms of their treasure, in terms of their time, or in terms of their talent. Somebody might want to team up with you, work with you on a project. If you're in a classroom setting and there's a team project or a group project, if you're the one that the classmate across the room makes eye contact with immediately, right? We're going to work together on this project. That's a compliment. They're investing in you from a talent standpoint because they know you're a worthwhile investment, right? So think about it in that way, and think about how you are building your brand to get others to invest in you. David, thank you for the comment in the chat as well. I appreciate that you're calling that out more than the individual's personality, responsibility narrative, because I think it does grow beyond that, right? We can think of things in an individual standpoint, but building our personal brand, building our personal board of directors, building these circles and seeking to be a part of other people's circles, it creates that ecosystem, or dare I continue to milk this metaphor, the economy of talent and of individuals. And that makes us all more successful, right? The old cliche is that the rising tide lifts all boats. Well, when you surround yourself by the right people and when you are the right person for others to surround themselves with, all of your boats rise. And David, I really appreciate your call out in the chat. I want to take a moment. I have a fun activity. I have a visual representation while we're on the investing kind of thought process here. Now, this is about a 10-year snapshot of a particular company's stock, right? You see the stock value from roughly 2013 until about 2024. So let's call it 10 to 11 years, right? In the chat, let me know, what is the first thing that stands out about this chart? Take a moment, give you all a chance to really look at it and digest it, and tell me what jumps out at you. Let's see what you all think. Haley says that it goes down a lot during the COVID years. Okay. Anyone else? And if you agree with Haley, say it. You don't have to have necessarily a totally unique idea. If you're seeing the same thing Haley's seeing, Samuel says its stock dropped at the beginning of COVID and went up after to its original state. Jaleesa definitely sunk during COVID. Smriti says consolidation. Okay, interesting. So based on what I'm seeing in the chat so far, everybody seems to agree that that circle right there is the area that they are focusing on. Is that accurate? How many of you believe that this is a representation of a stock value that dropped because of COVID? Raise your hand, say yes in the chat. However it is, how many of you think that? Haley says yes, that is what I believe that is the case. David put his hand up. Chumeng has a hand up. Very good. Camila says yes in the chat. All right, so Anand, yes in the chat. All right, good. I'm getting more yeses in the chat. Excellent. So everybody feels that this is a representation of a COVID drop. Ha 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 ha. Juan just puts in the chat, it's probably not, with the sideways tearing laughing face. And Juan, you're correct. It's not. This chart does not represent stock impact from COVID. You might be a little surprised when I reveal what company it is that this represents. Give everyone a moment with that. And when I tell you that this has nothing to do with COVID, this was not a COVID drop. There were a number of banks that did pretty well during this time, and they recovered strong after it. But no, Wells Fargo, during this time in 2020, I'll provide a little story. So in about a 14-year window, from 2002 until 2016, Wells Fargo was financially doing very well. And they had this culture in their organization of very aggressive sales tactics. And they had an organization that put quotas and requirements on individuals that many folks considered almost impossible to reach. It was a very difficult process to reach or to exceed those goals, to hit bonuses, and in many cases, for people to even keep their jobs. The fear associated with those incredible sales goals led a number of those employees to begin taking customer information and opening false, fraudulent accounts in their name. So customers came to find out that they had checking accounts or savings accounts or money market or online banking or all these other accounts that they never consented to and they never signed up for. And it created a massive issue when that came into the light. The stock dropped. There were $3 billion in financial penalties assessed to Wells Fargo in the aftermath of the information breaking about the scandal. There was an almost entire turnover of leadership. The executives found themselves testifying before the Senate and essentially being chastised in public. Public trust eroded, and their asset growth was capped until they could show that they made reforms. So I want to pause for a moment. In the chat box, what comes to mind? What lessons are learned from this? What do you get from this story and from seeing this visual representation of what happened in really a year? Or does anyone want to share their thoughts? Raise your hand and you can come off mute and get somebody to share their thoughts if they'd like to. You can either do it in the chat or I'll invite somebody to unmute and share. What do you think about this? Afnan says there was something happened that they didn't focus on. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And Juan says it's messed up. I agree. Juan, you're right. It is messed up. It is messed up. Okay, the Dirty Money documentary. I haven't seen that. I'll have to check that out. I love this. Ozair, I love what you just said. Transparency and trust matters. Yes, absolutely. Haley says, people didn't trust the company, and then eventually, as time went on, the company made significant changes, and people started to trust them again. Yes, that's true. There was a recovery, but there is a group, a fairly good-sized group of people out there who, when it comes time to decide on a bank, who will immediately take Wells Fargo out of the running because of the scandal. Greediness culture can mess up any company. Yeah, that's true, Samuel, that's true. And now listen, at the end of the day, most companies exist to create value, to make money, to make profit. But as with anything, there's a line. And when you start compromising your ethics for that perception of success, and it leads to something like this, then you haven't been successful. You haven't been successful. Yeah, and Afnan makes a really good point. Here's the thing. Overall, when you look at this 14-year period, you see an organization that performed at a pretty high level. I mean, they did all right. But you can't help but see that precipitous drop, and you kind of wonder what the organization would be right now if that had never happened, if they hadn't made those decisions, right? And we've seen this throughout history. Well, here's what I want everyone to take away from this. It's not only applicable to companies and corporations. Your personal brand can similarly be, although not as scientifically, represented in terms of value over the course of a period of time. You're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days. Right? When I'm thinking of an individual who works in an organization and I'm picturing what their stock looks like, and I'll often say this is like, I got an employee whose stock is really high right now. They're performing, they're firing on all cylinders. I just used one of those business cliches. I should take my own advice and not use firing on all cylinders. That's a platitude. They're doing really well. They're learning, they're coming into their own, and maybe they're ready for the next level. They're ready for a promotion. But I'd never expect not to see dips and bad days and challenges and difficulties. It's a question of how you recover from it. The other thing that I hope this teaches you and reminds you is that it takes months, years, decades to build brand value. It takes a much shorter amount of time to erode it, damage it, or destroy it. Yes, absolutely, David. That's exactly right. Enron, Theranos, WorldCom, Tyco, Lehman Brothers, all great examples of organizations that were, when we heard too big to fail, well, they failed. And part of the reason they failed is because of dishonesty, and they eroded trust. So this is the next big lesson. I mentioned earlier that time is the most finite and critical resource that you have. Yes, that's absolutely right, because you can never get time back. Close behind it is trust. Time and trust. It takes a long time to build a bank of trust. You can waste trust very quickly with a decision that is unethical or with something that erodes the trust that your board of directors and your investors have in you. Can you get that back? Yeah, but it takes a long time, a lot of effort, and you're left wondering, how much different would my situation be right now if I had never had that drop off, if I'd never made that decision? All right. I want to pivot a little bit into the next part of the presentation, the next topic. And that is talking about the concept. I don't know why the OT isn't coming in here. This should say SWOT, should say SWOT analysis. I'm not seeing it on my screen, and that could just be a bandwidth thing. How many of you are seeing SW analysis, or is anybody seeing SWOT analysis here? Only SW. Okay. That's wonderful. That's okay. And yet we march on. It's SWOT analysis, SWOT. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go to this slide. Now, this is a look at the PDF that I'll send you if you provide the feedback at the end of the presentation. I'll provide the link and everything, but everyone will get a copy of this in a PDF for themselves to use. But I want to take a moment. I want to talk a little bit about the SWOT analysis. How many of you, by either hands up or thumbs up or anything like that, are familiar with the concept of the SWOT analysis? Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Samuel has hand up. Very good. Haley says she, okay, excellent. Haley, thank you. Chuming, hand is up. Wonderful. All right, good. So a lot of folks have heard of this before. And for some of you, this might be a new concept to you. And fortunately, the concept itself is relatively simple. Companies, organizations have been using the SWOT analysis for decades, usually to assess their position in a market. So a company will sit down and will say, all right, well, what do we do very well? What do we not do well? What are our weaknesses? What are our opportunities? What are our threats? And they'll build a strategic plan based on that assessment. I have been using the SWOT analysis with mentees and with myself for probably about 25 years, since I was in college. I believe the value of the personal SWOT analysis is just as impactful as an organization or a team utilizing it. And that's the exercise I want to have everyone go through today. So you see strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. These top two, strengths and weaknesses, these are internal. You own these. You own your strengths, you own your weaknesses, and you can make changes to them. Your strengths can get stronger, or they can go the other way. Just like for anybody who's into workouts, into the gym, if you exercise a particular muscle, it'll continue to get stronger, or at the very least will maintain its strength. If you neglect it, it will atrophy and it will get weaker. When you identify weaknesses, if you address them and you work on them, they become less of a weakness and in some cases may even become a strength. Opportunities and threats, on the other hand, are environmental. You can't necessarily control them. Opportunities and threats exist all around us, and what we have to do is decide how we're going to react to them. So strengths, weaknesses are internal and personal. Opportunities and threats are environmental. And some important things to consider about each of these different items in each of these different quadrants. And this is also on the PDF that I would send you. Strengths are the things that you do particularly well, what you believe separates you from others in a positive way. Skills, abilities, mindsets, and I don't know why, but the rest of this isn't coming. Oh, there it goes. Okay, excellent. You ask yourself, what am I good at and how can I use my strengths to my fullest advantage? Weaknesses are anything that you struggle with, right? These are the skills that maybe you just haven't developed at this point in time, or where you see the opportunity to grow. So you ask yourself, what can I improve on and how do I address them? This is a spoiler alert for anybody who has not done a lot of job interviews. And for those of you who have been on a lot of job interviews or internship interviews, you may have heard this question before. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Tell me what your greatest strength is. Tell me what's your greatest weakness. This is a relatively simple question in theory, but it is a question that so many interviewees struggle with. And to give you a little bit of an idea, I've been in early career talent acquisition for about 20 years now. So since 2005. I've been in recruiting of some sort, mostly recruiting from colleges and universities. I've gone to hundreds of career fairs at companies all over the East Coast and even some outside of the East Coast. And I've estimated that between phone interviews, face-to-face interviews, on-campus interviews, and career fair interviews, I've interviewed somewhere between 50 and 70,000 individuals, job seekers. And this is one of the questions that people struggle with the most, other than tell me what you learned about the organization and what interested you in wanting to work here. But strengths and weaknesses are tough. People oftentimes struggle bragging about themselves, even in an interview where you're supposed to brag about yourself. Weaknesses are really tricky. because a lot of times people try and outsmart the question. We'll talk about that more in just a moment. With opportunities and threats. Now, opportunities are potentially beneficial. They're part of your environment. These are external factors and circumstances, and you can ask yourself what opportunities exist and how do I take advantage of those opportunities? And then last, your threats. Oh, sorry about that. I was on the left side of the screen. And give that a moment to catch up. Your threats are also environmental, and you ask yourself, what is around me that could potentially damage me? Or how would I need to manage a threat, a challenge, or an issue? All right, so while that's frozen for a moment, I want to see if I can advance. All right, it's going to take a second to catch up. But what we're going to do is we're going to do a breakout room activity. And I know we're heading into our final half hour here, and we've already covered a lot of ground. But I want to do a very brief breakout room activity. It's a W analysis. Outstanding. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing and bring everybody back here. So I'm going to set up 4 breakout rooms. And what I want to challenge you all to do, if you are in breakout room number 1, you're going to have these strengths. You're going to be responsible for thinking of examples of strengths and how you might describe those or how you might go about explaining them, whether it's in an interview or to a mentor or somebody else there. Okay. If you are in room number 2, you will have the weaknesses room. And you will talk about what are some examples of professional weaknesses that you can talk about and how you can address those. And you can use your own personal examples. I know it can be tough, but I want to challenge you to be a little vulnerable. If you're in room number 3, you're in the threats room. What are the threats that exist? I'm sorry, you're in the opportunities room. The opportunities room, what opportunities exist for each of you as a student at Touro University, or where you are geographically, or just in your environment, what opportunities exist? And if you're in room number 4, what are the threats that exist and how might you be able to manage those? We'll take about 5 minutes in the breakout. We'll bring everybody back and we'll have one person from each room describe what they talked about. So I'm going to create that, open the rooms, and I'll give everyone a chance to head into each of those rooms. If you're in room 1, strengths, room 2, weaknesses, room 3, opportunities, room 4 will be threats. Give everyone a moment to hop into one of the breakout rooms. And we'll see you back here in about 5 minutes. All right, I see everybody's coming back in now. All the rooms are closing up. It's always really funny to watch the breakout rooms during that last countdown. You got some of the rooms you can tell got through what they wanted to talk about and were pretty much empty, and then you see those rooms that were hanging on to every possible second that they could. Room number 1, I'm looking at you. So let's go into the discussion a little bit. Who was in room number 1 who wants to share a little bit of the strengths that you all discussed? You can put your hand up, you can unmute, you can come on video or stay off video. It's entirely what you're comfortable with. Who's our room 1 person?
Basically, we talked about adaptability, kind of being able to, be able to quickly adjust to any changes or new challenges, and flexibility, being able to be flexible with time or, stuff like that. And we talked about communication and negotiation skills, and we kind of talked about teamwork and solving problems, and concentration and stuff like that.
All outstanding. That's really, really terrific. A lot of those I latched onto. There were 5 or 6 really good ones there. And some of these are going to come back up during the last bit of the presentation. But adaptability, being able to deal with and handle circumstances, especially things that are beyond your control, being able to handle change, change in learning and development circles, change management it's still a term, but an emerging term is change leadership. It's not just how do you deal with change, but how do you adapt and lead others in a change? And that is an emerging skill. Being somebody who, when a change has to happen, is one of the first to say, all right, I'm going to help push us forward through that, when there's going to be other people, spoiler alert, this is going to happen in an organization, people who are resistant to change and even belligerent about it. So change leadership is an emerging skill. I love that communication came up. If we have some time, I do want to spend some time on communication a little bit later. I obviously could do a whole hour just on communication skills and probably not cover it all. And I love that you talked about teamwork. Teamwork's one of my favorite topics. Almost every job right now has some aspect of teamwork. Very rare in today's working world is there a job that is entirely individual contributor. So Haley, thank you. Team one, well done. Very, very nicely done. Who is in group two, our weaknesses group, who's going to share what they discussed with us? Can take yourself off mute. It's up to you if you want to be on camera or not. I don't hear anybody yet, just in case you're still muted. Group two? Or somebody want to jump in? Okay, let's pause on group two. Oh, there we go. Go ahead, Naomi.
Okay. Group two was risks, right?
Group two's weaknesses. But
Oh,
what did you all talk about?
Oh, no. So I'm sorry. I was part of group. No, I was part of the risks, so I wasn't part of that group.
Of the threats?
Threats, yes.
Threats? Okay, so you're group four. Okay, good.
Yes.
I'm looking for the weaknesses group. It was group two. Who was in the opportunities group, group three? Anybody? Group three? Group three was the first one done.
Over here. Yeah. So we actually had quite a lot.
Good.
So the first one was the fact that we are gonna be in New York. So there's just a ton of just in general. There's gonna be a ton of opportunities in general, a lot of ways that we can network. The second major aspect is we're also part of a university. And with that comes the student ID. And that's obviously going to open a lot of doors. It's going to make a lot of networking opportunities cheaper, or if not cheap, then free to use, which is fantastic. Beyond that, we have a career office to help us out. And we have the Turo LinkedIn network, which is full of current students and people who have graduated. And then those who have graduated are working in private organizations that may align with what we want to do because they may have done degrees similar to us. So those are like the two major focal points. The other thing is that most of our programs are, I think all the programs in Turo are STEM programs. So we are expected to work in a private organization as part of our graduation process, more or less. So even if I don't want to get a job for some reason, I'm going to be working in a professional capacity in a private organization in order to graduate. So just having that exposure kind of placed up front is going to put me in a position where I can talk to people, my coworkers and so on, and kind of like build a network from there. But putting all of that aside, you just have like a lot of stuff that's in our favor right now, especially if anyone's like close to around New York City and we have student ID and so on. I think those are our biggest assets right now in terms of creating opportunities for us. So yeah, that's what we had.
Awesome. Well done, group three. That was outstanding. And I think you hit on so many great examples, right? First of all, your location, the fact that you're in New York, which is still one of the epicenters of the world. Now that opportunity has changed a little bit. It's evolved now because yes, you have a lot of opportunity in New York, but now as we've become more tech savvy, and one of the silver linings of that the dark cloud of COVID brought us was an understanding of how to work and how to be part of and reach teams all over the world. There's opportunity in a lot of places. But New York continues to be where a lot of that opportunity resides. And I love the fact that you shouted out LinkedIn. We're going to talk more about that in a little bit towards the end. Naomi, if you're with us, you had unmuted a moment ago for group 4, which was the threats or the risks group. I want to invite you to share group 4's discussion now as well.
Yeah, sure. So some of the threats that we identified were having a tarnished reputation, political instability,
Oh, good one.
economic factors, competition, data breaches, privacy concerns. All of those could be threats to the company. So yeah, those were just a few of the ones that we identified.
Yeah, and not just threats to an organization, but from a personal brand standpoint. That absolutely plays in. You guys nailed it. That is fantastic. The political instability, that's huge right now. A lot of people are concerned about that. The state of the economy is a big challenge and a big difficulty. So yeah, absolutely. There's no doubt about it. What's also really interesting is that something can occupy space in both an opportunity and a threat, right? You, depending on how you react to it or how it manifests itself, right? Technology is probably the biggest example. Technology is an endless opportunity. And Naomi, you nailed the discussion, talk about data breaches, right? Well, that's a risk and an exposure that comes along with the opportunity of technology, and having so much information available to us is who's out there looking for it. So technology can be a strength, a weakness, an opportunity, and a threat all at the same time, which is really fascinating. So, all right, outstanding job, everybody, and I really appreciate you taking a few moments and working on that. What I want to do real quick is, because I also realize that we're already at the 15 minutes left mark, and I want to respect everybody's time, even though I could definitely keep going for like 3 more hours on this, but I won't do that to you. Not that I could. You all be like, all right, goodbye. But I want to do a quick exercise for a moment, and again, in the chat box, changing gears a little bit from the SWOT analysis. I'm going to say a word, and I want you to put into the chat box the first thing that pops into your head. All right, so this is simple word association. I'm going to say one word, and I just want you to share in the chat box what's the first thing you see. You can close your eyes, and what's the first picture you get in your mind's eye. And the word is professionalism. Professionalism. So when I say the word professionalism, what is the first thing that comes to mind? Dependable, respectful, on time, a suit. One, good answer. Perfection, office. Okay, Barshot, very interesting. Some really good answers. Looking sharp. Sona says looking sharp. Social politeness. Good. Well-spoken mannerisms. Corporate, Tanisha says. All right. Fantastic. Really, really good answers here. And I think a lot of times, and I've just done this exercise at a lot of colleges and universities I've spoken at, and it doesn't surprise me, but it is noteworthy when I say professionalism, how many people say that the first picture that pops into their head is somebody dressed in a suit, dressed really sharp, and it's a certain archetype, right? For it could be suit and tie, shirt and tie, it could be blouse, pantsuit, skirt suit, nice shoes, coiffed hair, everything like that. And it's the idea about the physical presentation of an individual. But the fact is, professionalism is much deeper than just what we wear and what our attire is. And when you look at the root of the word professionalism, it comes from the root profess. And in the 1200s, the idea of professing something, becoming a professional, meant essentially declaring to your community, declaring to the world, and however you could do that in the 1200s, what you were going to do, who you were. A lot of times it was a vow of entering a religious order. But even beyond that, one of the first documents of professionalism came from this gentleman. Does anybody know who we're looking at right here? I mean, it's a stunning photo. Anybody want to take a guess who we're looking at? From, I believe, ancient Greece. Somebody says Socrates, Aristotle, Homer, Aristotle, Plato. You're all close. It's Hippocrates. Hippocrates. And if you're not as familiar with Hippocrates, he's a fascinating historical figure. He lived from 460 to 370 BC, and he's considered the father of medicine. And as a matter of fact, the code that medical doctors still to this day live by is called the Hippocratic Oath, right? The idea of, first do no harm, and the oath that a doctor takes before they practice medicine. This is one of the first documented representations of what a profession was, what a professional was, and a certain code that came along with it. But you notice it has nothing to do with attire. Nowhere in the Hippocratic Oath does it say, hey, you got to wear a lab coat when you're walking around the hospital, and then when you're in your office, you got to wear a suit. No, it's about first do no harm. How are you going to treat and care for others, for patients? Some of the most professional people I know, some of the most talented people I know, go to work every day in jeans and a t-shirt or in a different type of uniform. They don't wear suits. They don't fit the archetype of what society tells us a professional is or has to be. There are plenty of examples of professionals who do wear the formal or the semi-formal attire, but it's not a hard and fast rule. So I want to play a quick game. And everyone open up the chat boxes if you want to participate in the game. How many of you have ever heard of a game called Family Feud? Raise your hand or give me a thumbs up in the chat box if you're familiar with Family Feud. Barshot knows Family Feud. Haley says, yes, I love Family Feud. She just said, yes. 1 thumbs up. All right, very cool. We're not going to play Family Feud. It's not Family Feud. It's a game called Top Answers. This is a game of my own creation. It is a combination of Family Feud and match game. So I call it Top Answers because legal, and I don't want to get in any trouble. So Top Answers is a pretty simple game. I'm going to put a question on the board. You're going to write down your top answers, and we're going to see how many of your answers match the top 7 answers on the board. So if you have a piece of paper handy, or if you want to type it out, you can put it in the chat box. I want everyone to think of 3 answers to the following question, and we're going to see how many matches you have. So think of 3 answers, and if you really want to get in there and play, put your 3 answers in the chat box. And the question is, how can we demonstrate professionalism apart from attire? So without talking about how we dress, what are 3 examples of how we can demonstrate professionalism? Tanisha comes right out of the gate with be on time. Be calm. Tanisha says mannerism. David talks about coachability. I could go a whole hour just on coachability. That's a phenomenal answer. Be prepared. Manners, respect, honesty, tone of voice. I love it. Be on time for work and meetings, respond promptly to messages, polite, on time. Haley talks about being able to adapt, very good. Patience, adaptability again. Be on time, be calm. Oh, everyone is really getting fired up in the chat box. This is great. Patience, communication, be polite, collaboration, punctuality. Awesome, listening properly, willing to learn, be respectful. Every single one of these answers is phenomenal. I love it. Now, top 7 answers are on the board. Let me share what my research has shown are 7 of the most important ways we can demonstrate professionalism. And right off the bat, we talked about this earlier with our Wells Fargo example, honesty and integrity. It is the epitome of professionalism to be somebody who is honest and somebody others can trust. The moment you lose your honesty and your integrity, you will be seen as less of a professional. Honesty, integrity, number 1 answer. A lot of folks had it in the chat. Number 2 is communication. Now, communication is interesting, and as I mentioned, I could spend a whole hour just on communication. But there are 4 ways in which we communicate. There are 4 types of communication. In the chat box, what do you think the 4 types of communication are? How do we communicate with others? Pop them in the chat box. Verbal communication, Janelle, absolutely right. Haley says written communication. Very good. A bunch of people come up with written communication. Janelle, nonverbal communication, correct. So you have your verbal communication. What you say, tone of voice, volume, pitch, timbre, vocabulary, nonverbal, attire, body posture, eye contact, smile, handshake, outstanding, written communication, emails, text messages, anything you put out there on the internet, letters, thank you notes, all correct. There's one missing. There's one that no one has mentioned yet. I don't know how many football fans we have here. I love American football. I'm talking about American football, right? I don't know how many football fans we have. I love American football. I'm a fan of the Green Bay Packers. And a coaching staff on a team. Someone mentioned visual. I think visual is a really good answer. Visual is lumped in with nonverbal, right? So it's a really, really great guess. It's not the one I'm looking for. Mass communication. You can do mass communication verbally, and you can do mass communication in writing. So there's a subset of the other three. Now, when a football team is preparing its team to take the field, if the coaching staff took all of their time with the quarterback and no time with the wide receiver, and the quarterback threw a perfect ball, but the wide receiver had no idea where to go, how to catch, and the ball never reached their hands, the team would get 0 yards, 0 points, and would probably lose. It's just as important not just to consider how we deliver messages, but how we receive them. The fourth form of communication is listening. All these great examples are examples that tie into these 4 types of communication. Interpersonal, team, practice, absolutely all parts of these 4, but they're verbal, nonverbal, written, and listening. And as is often said, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. If you want to be viewed as a professional, you need to consider how you communicate in all of these 4 ways. How do you speak? How do you present? How do you write? But perhaps most importantly, how do you listen? How do you receive information? Number 3, competence. If I go to a restaurant and I sit down and the chef comes out and they are impeccably dressed in the most perfect chef whites I've ever seen, and their knife is the sharpest in history, and I say, I'll have the chicken, and they say, great, let me just see how long I have to put that in the microwave for, I'm going to be really nervous about the quality of that meal. You could be a great communicator, you could be a great dresser, you could be all of these other things, but you got to know how to do the job. You have to be competent. You have to be able to demonstrate skill and build skill in a particular area to be seen as a professional. Availability and punctuality. I saw this all over the chat, and it was a phenomenal answer. Be available, be punctual, respect other people's time. Life happens, change happens, but if you are in control of your time and your schedule, do everything you can to respect that time, as I am going to try to do, realizing that we only have 4 minutes left. Confidence, respect for others, respect for diversity, respect for different perspectives, very powerful. And emotional intelligence. When people talked about being able to stay calm and stay within themselves, that's part of emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is made up of your ability to be self-aware, to have social awareness, to read the emotions of others, that's empathy, to be able to manage yourself, to control your emotional triggers, and to have social management, to be able to react to the emotions of others. Emotional intelligence, very, very powerful. These are the top 7 answers of what I look at when I consider somebody to be a professional. Hopefully everybody here is able to demonstrate each and every one of these things. I want to start to wrap up with this question. I'm going to invite everyone into the chat box, and this is a fill in the blank game. So fill in the blank. It's not what you know, blank. Put it in the chat box for me. It's not what you know. Fill right there out with it. Who? It's not what you know. It's who you know. How many of you have ever heard that before? hands up or thumbs up. It's not what you know, it's who you know. David raised his hand, says, I'm familiar. Haley knows it. Phil's getting some reactions to his answer. Sona says, yep, I'm familiar with it. It turns out that's half true. It is who you know, but it is also what you know. And it is important to have a balance of both. Your personal brand is an extension of yourself. It will help you in networking. It will help you access opportunities and allow you to build your personal board of directors. I know a few folks have mentioned today LinkedIn. That came up in one of the opportunities. If you can say, David, that's a great point. I want to highlight what David says here. Can't get the who without the what you know. Yes, now there are people out there who know a lot of other people who probably are not the most competent in the world. And they'll only get them so far. But if you can have both competence and ability and know-how and networking skills, that will benefit you in the long run, no doubt about it. If you are not on LinkedIn yet, I encourage you to do so. Setting up a LinkedIn profile is free, and connecting with people is free. You don't have to go all the way and pay for the premium and go that extra mile. But you have opportunities to build your network. If you have LinkedIn, I challenge you to ask yourself, is my LinkedIn 100% complete? Do I have a professional headshot? And if not, how can I get one? Do I have a banner? Do I have a statement that is indicative of my brand? Does it represent my brand? My school on there, my job on there, and am I connecting with important people, not just in the world, but important to me, people I can connect with and who resonate with me and extensions of my personal brand. It is 7:30. We have spent an hour and a half together, and I got so much great feedback in the chat, and I want to thank you all for that. But I also want to ask you for your feedback here as well. So I'm going to put the link in the chat as well, and you can use the QR code on your phone. But your feedback is important to me. So if you'll take a moment and either take a picture of the QR code or use the link that I put in the chat box, I really would value your feedback on this talk. If you provide feedback to this talk, you will get a downloadable PDF of the SWOT analysis that you can use either on your own, you can use with a mentor of yours to help you identify and become self-aware of what you're doing well, what you want to work on, and what opportunities and threats exist in your environment. Or if you're mentoring somebody else, great opportunity for you to do the exercise with them. If you have any questions about it, you'll be able to reach out to me directly. And if you're looking for any of the information from the slides today, give me the feedback and I'll be happy to provide you with that information. So I'll leave that up for just another moment. Also, if anybody wants to connect with me, the links are in the chat as well. On the YouTube channel, the third link is where I post a lot of videos like this, shorter form videos on specific topics designed to help students and job seekers reach their goals. Check out the channel, like or comment on any of the videos, and if you feel like subscribing, you'll see new videos as they come out. If you're on LinkedIn and want to connect with me, I'm happy to do that. The Instagram, that's my professional Instagram. I'm going to unshare my screen. And just once again, thank each and every one of you. The participation in the chat was awesome. The activity from the breakout rooms was super cool. And I got some really great info from you all. So, and Leanne, thank you for bringing me before this group and putting your trust in me. What a fun crew. This was so much fun. I really appreciate it. You probably have some housekeeping notes for everyone.
Yes, thank you, everybody. Again, one last time, thank you. I encourage you to fill out that feedback. Amazing, 10 out of 10 for me, 5 stars for sure. And if anybody has any questions after today's session, feel free to email me or give me a call. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed our 2025 Spring Career Night. And Chris and I are looking forward to staying in touch with you all on LinkedIn.
Definitely. If you have any questions, reach out. please feel free. You can send me the questions either via email. You can private message me in any way, and also I'll send a thank you email out, and you can email me back too. But I appreciate it. Everyone, enjoy the rest of your evening. Be safe. Be good to each other. Be professional. And let's continue to build our personal brands. Great job, everyone. This was so much fun.